Cancelled.
Schweezy. This is the type of guy you get.
Alright, so I bet all of you are wondering what I've been watching on television lately. I mean, that's just, people come up to me and like, what have you been watching on TV? They don't even ask. They could be asked, hey, Schweezy, how are you doing? You think going good in your life? No, they're like, what have you been watching on TV? And that's what I'm here to do today, just to tell you what I've been watching on TV. First thing I want to talk about, I watched Werewolf by Night. It's a Marvel thing, If anyone watches this podcast, I'm into that shit. And, if you've noticed, I've adapted the show to be just talk about the shit I want to talk about in this middle section of the show. And yeah, I watched Werewolf by Night. It aired Friday. I watched the day of. And so, once again, like the Dahmer series, I am on time to be talking about this series and what's been going, not series, just like this episode or whatever. I guess next week I get to talk about She-Hulk, so that's going to be really cool. And Lord of the Rings, maybe? Actually, that's actually pretty convenient. I have next week planned out. That's very convenient.
I like that.
Anyways, I watched Werewolf by Night. So, this is like the first Marvel feature, I don't know if it's a feature presentation or Marvel Presents. It's just like a special. So it's technically a movie, but it's not really a movie. It's not a TV show. It's just like a TV special, in the age of streaming. It's a TV special in the age of streaming, which, it's not like anything really, because people were like, Marvel's giving us too much content. I'm like, I fucking love this shit. Please give us as much as possible. But I also kind of want it to be, interesting shit, I love She-Hulk, but, some of the episodes, She-Hulk goes to a wedding. You're like, okay. All right. So that's kind of, I'm like, I kind of want just cool shit to happen every week. That's just what I want. But, I'm like, when's Doctor Doom? Everyone's waiting. We're like, X-Men? Doctor Doom? We're all waiting for that shit. And you're like, Reed Richards? We're waiting. We're just waiting on that shit. And so... I'm assuming it's gonna be a while from that. Not every week's gonna be just fucking just fucking banger after banger, It's kind of thing. And if you've ever read comic books and if you ever actually had to wait month by month, week by week, et cetera, for you go through a story like that, a lot of times a lot of the good stories now are just all published at once, it's like a book, you can go beginning to end and stuff like that. But anyways, a Werewolf by Night, that's a just a feature presentation or whatever. A special presentation, Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, which, with these, so it was weird with this one, because, I've known for a while, this year around Halloween, they're going to release Werewolf by Night, just a Halloween special, but, it felt like they released the trailer not that long ago, and then now the thing's out, they didn't, a lot of times, I think that's going to happen with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which apparently is going to be very important to the MCU. Apparently, that's another sound drop I need to add. In the meantime, we're not going to do that. But when I thought of Werewolf by Night, what I know about Werewolf by Night, I'm I don't think it's that interesting of a character. I like the Doctor Strange movies, and I like Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, but reading Doctor Strange stories, I'm I don't know how interested I'm in this. But I like the movie, I watch the movies and stuff like that, and then people were like, I didn't like Multiverse of Madness. I'm like, have you read a Doctor Strange story before? Because this is a really good Doctor Strange story, and that's the same with She-Hulk. People are like, fucking She-Hulk's twerking. I'm like, you gotta realize She-Hulk is a comedy, and so if you read a She-Hulk comic that's She-Hulk, it's going to be a comedy. If, she's just in someone else's story, it's going to be a comedy. They ruined Daredevil. Daredevil's in a comedy. I'm pretty sure once we get back to regular Daredevil, I don't think we're going to get Wilson Fisk killing a dude with a car door, but I think we're going to get pretty close to that. We're going to get pretty close to that. The deaths in Werewolf by Night were pretty brutal. But I was kind of hoping for, if Werewolf by Night's first appearance to be with Moon Knight, because they'd done the Moon Knight series, and that was, Werewolf by Night is, the second series, doesn't really connect much to the MCU, but it's clearly somewhere in there. Moon Knight was the first. For Moon Knight was really the first that I was just I don't know where this connects in the MCU. I mean, we kind of do, but it's just in this world, but everyone's Egyptian god. I feel if Chadwick Boseman was still alive, that scene where all the Egyptian gods came in, Bast, he'd be the avatar for Bast, and he'd come into the little pyramid temple thing, But that's way off topic though. I assumed the first Werewolf by Night appearance was going to be in like a Moon Knight story in the MCU, or Moon Knight was going to be involved. Because like the first issue that Moon Knight, I believe, existed in or was created in or appeared in was a Werewolf by Night story. So Werewolf by Night like precedes Moon Knight, and there's always something there. But those Midnight, I've never been really much into the Midnight Suns stories, but I do kind of like Moon Knight. I think the MCU did it pretty well, but you're kind of blue balling a little bit on it. But you know, sometimes you got a blue ball thing so you can pay off the blue balls later. That's how blue balls work, right?
What?
But anyways, though, so I thought that was gonna be the first appearance. And remember when I first saw like the trailer to Moon Knight, you had Moon Knight beating the shit out of what looked like a wolf. It was a Jekyll, and it ended up being like a Jekyll created by Arthur Harrow, you know. But you know, it is what it is. But anyways, though, didn't have a lot of high hopes going into Werewolf by Night. Reading, you know, just a general a Marvel Wiki type page. What is Werewolf by Night, you may be asking? Because, I don't know, it's hard to explain, so I'm just going to read this off verbatim. He is a Romanian descendant of a family cursed placed on the Rusov due to their ancestors' encounter with Count Dracula's werewolf. And Russell, Jack Russell, would transform into a beast his 18th birthday. Though a reluctant hero, Russell has helped numerous heroes in battling villains and later became a member of the Legion of Monsters and the Midnight Suns. While fighting for the common good, Jack is also trying to remove his family's curse so he can live a normal life. So, yeah, that's basically the premise of it. Like, he's a werewolf, but it's not like lycanthropy or whatever, you know, like, I mean, I don't know, because I think werewolves like Harry Potter. There's the general story, like, oh, you're bitten by a werewolf, every full moon, you turn into a werewolf, and stuff like that. Then you have Harry Potter, where being a werewolf was kind of an allegory in the wizarding world for AIDS in the 90s, which, if you didn't know, Harry Potter, I think, was originally started in the 90s. I think the last book came out, like, 2007. And technically, the books take place in the 90s. The movies kind of feel like it's in the 2000s, but if you read the book... So, like, you could read the book. Like, if you watch the movies, you could be like, oh, these happened in the 2000s, but then you have to read... But if you read the books, they happen in the 90s. You can interpret it that way. Just interpret it the way I just told you. That's how things work. So, yeah, Jack Russell, he's a werewolf. Typically on a full moon, except for this one time in this special. So, the movie or the special is basically some dude whose last name is Bloodstone. I did not write down his name for some reason. He died, and he had this special thing called the Bloodstone. It's just some stone thing. Maybe the MCU will bring it back. Maybe it won't. Doesn't matter. And they invite all these monster hunters because this is like this underworld area or a different universe, something like that. New Rockstars did not give a good explanation on that, and probably because the movie didn't give a good explanation on that. So don't blame New Rockstars. People don't go angry at New Rockstars. But so yeah, invite all these monster hunters, and like whoever can slay this monster, that they captured, and they put the Bloodstone in. Whoever gets the Bloodstone gets to keep it. You know, Elsa Bloodstone also comes up, who's one of our protagonists in this movie. That's the daughter of this dude who died, and she's like, I deserve this, but the stepmom's kind of a bitch, and she's like, nah, she can be here, but she didn't earn it from her blood right. You know, I'm like, yeah, maybe you don't do that. So stepmom's kind of a bitch, which isn't always the stepmom's. My dad's dead. Everyone take a drink. And so I'm not going to ever get the opportunity to have a stepmom. So that, in the porn sense, it kind of sucks. In the fairy tale fantasy world, it's okay. Anyways, though, so our protagonist, I wrote antagonist. I need to fucking learn English.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
But our protagonist, that's how the fucking English works, Jack Russell, also known by Werewolf by Night, he actually doesn't care to win this Bloodstone. Because they're all supposed to hunt this monster they put the Bloodstone into, which will weaken its power, but also will be a bitch to get. Something strange like that. Turns out, our protagonist, Jack Russell, he wants to get the Bloodstone, and turns out save his friend who is a monster. Turns out this monster is his friend Ted, better known in the comics as Man-Thing. I'm like, okay, Man-Thing's gonna be in this thing. Okay, that's a far-fetched character. So yeah, that's the basic story, and then they get captured, and then werewolf stuff happens, and Elsa Bloodstone's like, he's trying to remember Elsa, so he doesn't kill her when he turns into a werewolf, stuff like that, and then shit happens. A lot of fucking brutal deaths. I thought Multiverse of Madness. I thought that fucking Professor Xavier death, like just neck snaps. Fuck me. Like that's a rough death for me. I don't know, like just like a boulder flying on someone, landing on someone, no big deal. Fucking being split in half, that's not a big deal. Being turned into like silly string, it's not a big deal. Your brain explode, not a big deal. Somehow just fucking neck snaps fucking creep me out. One time I have a friend, he did a basically like the chiropractor procedure where you do the same motion of like snapping someone's neck, but it's like the chiropractor way, where if you're a trained chiropractor, and he wasn't a trained chiropractor, he was in college, and I think he went from aviation to business, so I think you should. I like the guy though. He did that move on me, the chiropractor move, and I'm like, so like my head moved that way, but it like cracked and popped and it felt nice. And I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, this feels nice, but what the fuck? At the same time, anyways though, I got a funny picture of him, so I'm not too worried about that. I still have shit on him. So anyways though, yeah, that's kind of the thing. So, then you have and then they use the bloodstone. They can turn Jack into a werewolf without a full moon. So that's a situation. So yeah, that's kind of the movie. But no, one thing about the movie is the movie's in black and white. And, here's the thing, I understand when it's an artistic choice to make something in black and white. I think, is it Young Frankenstein? Is that the movie that has the guy who plays Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder, in it? That movie was intentionally made in black and white when it definitely 100% didn't need to be made in black and white at all. But it was just that for that. Now Schindler's List is, but Schindler's List also has a good artistic reason for it, I think they had red. This movie also used the red. I think the Bloodstone was red as well. And I noticed that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's in color, but nothing else is. And, when they decided to use color, and at the end of the movie, things did turn to color. It was very interesting, too. So I like the artistic way they decided to do that. Even though I think they did use the right corner circle blips, which I learned this from other people. I didn't realize this myself. I'm like, oh, they're doing that. I noticed it, but I was like, my mom was like, are they just doing that to be like cheesy or whatever? But it was nice because they do it because there's like these circle oval blip things you see in the top right corner if you decide to watch it, if you haven't seen it yet, and you'll see it. And that's basically with old movies, it was basically you have to change the reel, move into it. That's why a lot of things are in like a 3-act structure. Most movies and shows. And nice thing about TV shows, when back in the day when you had to watch shows with commercials, is that they would stop for commercial break in between the 2 acts. And so that's now like when I watch something and like, okay, if I'm gonna like do like a streaming service and I have to watch ads, I'm like, that's fine, but like please put them in a good spot. Like I hate it when it's like in a movie because movies typically aren't supposed to have ads in them, stuff like that. But like TV shows, I can get away with. That's fine. But yeah, it's a whole ordeal. But they made it work really well, and especially when they're moving to color near the end of it, there's a lot of significant meaning to that. So, Werewolf by Night really surprised me. I'm surprised how much I liked it. I was like, I'm gonna watch it because it's on Disney Plus and I can, but I'm not that interested. I'm like, I wouldn't like. I'm not. I'd be hesitant to want to go to a movie theater to see this, but no, they did. It was great. I was very excited. It was really good, and I suggest for all of you to get to the spooky season to check it out as well. Hey there, you just checked out a highlight from Cancel Schweezy. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you learned something and that you are now a smarter individual. Just so you know, we have full episodes and other many, many highlights available now. Click here for the next best thing that you can go check out as well. And make sure you press that subscribe button and press that notification bell. That way you get updated anytime we make a new post or anytime that we make a new highlight or full episode. So thank you, honk if you love butt drugs, and stay awesome.